The most important step to becoming an Amazon seller is understanding what types of products you should sell and which ones you should avoid. Not being able to find a good product is often the main reason why most people tell us that they haven't started selling yet. It's a real problem and it can leave you in a state called analysis paralysis. So how do you finally push through and find a product that checks off all of the boxes? The key is to look for products that meet most of, or ideally all, 6 of these factors. When we launched our product last year, it met every single one of these except for low competition. Now we're going to come back to this in just a second, but first, it's very important to understand that the need to hit all 6 of these factors will depend on 2 things. Number 1 is your experience, and number 2, your business model. First off, your experience. If you're a complete beginner, I'd strongly recommend sticking with this list and making sure your product idea hits all 6 factors. Then on your second product, you can come back and experiment with medium or even high competition categories, just like we did. And second, the business model that you choose will also determine how many of these 6 factors you should aim for. On Amazon, there's 4 main business models to consider. The first one is called wholesale. This is when you buy products in bulk directly from larger known brands and then use the current Amazon listing to resell your inventory. The second one is called arbitrage. This can be done either in store or online, and it's when you buy discounted products through retailers to resell on Amazon. Dropshipping is the third business model. This is when you buy products directly from an online supplier, and when a customer places an order, that supplier fulfills and ships the order on your behalf. This last one here is called private label. It's by far the best and most popular business model because unlike the other 3, you're actually building a real brand that nobody can take away from you. And because you own 100% of it, you could one day even sell the entire business for thousands or even millions of dollars. This is why we chose this business model to launch our product, and it's the one that we're going to show you how to do in this video. The easiest way to explain private label is this. Put simply, it's when you take a generic product and place your own brand on it. Then, by using a service called FBA or Fulfilled by Amazon, all you have to do is have your supplier ship your product to Amazon's warehouses, and then they're going to take care of all the fulfillment for you. This means you don't even need to touch your own inventory. So you can literally run this entire business from home or really anywhere in the world. Now, one question that we got asked in our last video was, can you sell in a country that you don't live in? The answer is yes. You do not need to have a physical address or even live in the country that you want to sell in. So if you live in the UK, you can sell in the US. And if you live in Pakistan, then you can sell in the UK. You just need to read up on the country's tax laws that you plan on selling in and make sure that you're following all their rules. Another important question is, how much money do you need to get started? So for private label, it is possible to get started with as low as $2,000 or even $1,000. But if you have $4,000, $5,000, $8,000, even $10,000, you'll obviously be in a much better position. In our case, our first round of inventory cost around $5,000, but keep in mind that our per unit product cost was around $11, which is somewhat high. So you can certainly find much cheaper products under $10. We then had a few other expenses that pushed our total startup cost to around $8,000. Now later on in this video series, we're going to talk more about all of these costs, but honestly, we really didn't need to spend this much. We could have easily shaved off a few $1,000s by simply doing our own product photography, design, and not getting a trademark right away. Those are all nice to haves and definitely not mandatory to get started. So if you only have a few $1,000s, don't be discouraged because you really only need around half the amount that we started with. But if you still don't have that, then I'd highly recommend starting with one of the other 3 business models just to help you build up some initial cash flow. Now that we've set the table and you know what you're getting into, let me show you the best way to find profitable products to sell on Amazon. To become a 6-figure seller, you need to be willing to invest both time and resources to doing it right. The biggest mistake that a lot of beginners make is guessing which products to sell based on their own personal preference, or in other words, opinions and not facts. Your hard-earned money is at stake here, so it's important to make smart, data-driven decisions. This is how I've found all my products in the past by using an Amazon-specific tool like Jungle Scout. It removes the guesswork from product research and makes it easier by giving you access to every product's estimated sales, costs, profits, and much more. Starting right now, I'm going to show you exactly how to find profitable products using my two favorite tools, Product Database and the Chrome extension. With the Product Database, every product on Amazon is loaded in here, and we have these advanced filters to help us easily discover the best product ideas. So first up, select whichever marketplace you want to sell in. In our case, we're selling in the US, but remember, no matter where you live in the world, you can sell in any of these marketplaces. Okay, now let's bring back those 6 factors that make a good product. The first and most important is high demand. A high demand product is basically any product that a lot of shoppers are consistently buying on Amazon. This is the only factor on this list that you as a seller cannot directly influence. It's possible to sell in a less competitive niche. It's even possible to lower your costs and become more profitable, but what's not possible is creating more demand. To find high demand products, we can use the sales filter here, and here I'd recommend looking for products that sell at least 300 units per month, which is about 10 sales per day, and that's a really good number to shoot for. Factor number 2 is low competition. On Amazon, look closely at the number of reviews that your potential competition has. If the competition has a low amount of reviews but still sells well, then that means it's going to be a lot easier for a new product, just like yours, to come in and compete against them. The truth is, because there's far more shoppers on Amazon than there are sellers, there are thousands of products out there with less than 100 reviews and are still getting over 300 monthly sales. So, a really great way to start looking for these high demand, low competition products is to come over and set the maximum number of reviews to 100. Now, factor number 3 is high profitability. You need to ensure that after all your expenses that you're taking home a healthy profit in order to create a stable and growing business. A lot of people make the same mistake of selling products with low profitability, and then the minute that Amazon increases their fees or shipping prices go up, their product ends up failing. We're going to make sure that you don't make this common mistake. As a general rule of thumb, you want to sell a product between $20 to $70 to allow for healthy profit margins. Below $20, the profit margins tend to get very slim, and above $70, shoppers are less likely to make an impulse buy from a brand that they're not familiar with. So I would set those filters over here. Factor number 4 is improvement potential. On Amazon, because new sellers are joining every single day, it's more important than ever to not just find a generic product and slap your logo onto it, but instead find a product that you can slightly tweak to make it better. Making just one small improvement can really help increase your chances of standing out from the competition. To determine improvement potential, you can utilize this star rating filter. This is the rating that every product on Amazon has on a scale of 1 to 5. So for this, I'd suggest setting the maximum rating to 3, as that's going to help us find products that are selling well despite having a poor rating. And surely if a product has a poor rating, there has to be room for improvement. And don't worry, once we've set up all of our filters, I'm going to show you exactly what to look for when doing this. But now onto factor number 5, which is ease to sell. Especially if this is your first product, it's best to sell something that isn't going to give you too many headaches. Ideally, you'll find a simple product that's easy for a factory to make, isn't easily breakable, and is small and lightweight, because Amazon actually will charge you more fees on products that are listed as oversized. So to avoid oversized products, you can come up here to the product tier section and select standard products only. An easy way to think about standard products is, let's say, anything that can fit inside a normal shoebox. And then next to that, I like to select FBA and FBM products only. That way we don't waste our time looking at things that are sold by Amazon themselves. Now, to help eliminate products that are either too hard to make or easily breakable, come over here and select all of the categories except for the ones that I've left unchecked. I'm not saying it's impossible to sell in these categories, but these are typically the ones that cause a few more headaches for new sellers. On to factor number 6, no legal or liability issues. There's no one filter for this, but it's one of the most important factors that you can't ignore. When searching for a product idea, don't consider selling anything that infringes on an existing patent or trademark. As well, cross off any product that you can see potentially being sued for, like a child's car seat, for example. And hey, real quick, if you're getting any value from this video so far, let us know by hitting that like button down below. Okay, now to quickly recap, all of these filters are set to help us discover only products that are high in demand, have low competition, are highly profitable, can be improved, and are going to be a lot easier to sell. Before clicking search, the last thing that you can do is either include or exclude any keywords. So for example, you wouldn't want to sell anything related to COVID, so you could easily exclude keywords like mask and sanitizer, etc. Now that you know what makes a good product, you can click on search, and this is where we get into the fun part, analyzing product ideas. So as we come back here to our search results, keep in mind that you don't always need to utilize these filters at once. In fact, I'd encourage you to play around and see what different results that you get by changing up the filters. You can even load some different presets that we've created for you, or save the ones that you've created yourself. The process from here is just to scroll through this list now and pick out some potential ideas. And then as soon as you find something interesting, the next step is to begin analyzing the product niche, or in other words, we already know this product meets our 6 factors of a good product, but we don't yet know if it meets the 6 factors of a good product niche. So we're going to analyze the entire market now, and to do that, go ahead and take your product and search for it over on Amazon. You can easily do this by clicking this icon here, which will bring you right to the product's listing. Once here, find what you think are the best keywords that accurately describe this product, and then copy and paste that into the search bar here. But if those keywords aren't obvious right away from the title or even the bullet points, no worries, just use the Jungle Scout Chrome extension to look up that product's main keywords. Simply click on this icon and you'll be directed to Jungle Scout's keyword research tool. You'll typically find that the main keyword is somewhere up at the top here, and if you click the icon next to it, it will send you to a search results page for that keyword. Okay, now I just mentioned the Chrome extension, and we're actually going to be using it again to help us analyze this product's niche. To do that, open up the extension to see real-time sales estimates for all of the products listed on the page. Here you're going to be able to see things like monthly and daily sales estimates, revenue, estimated net profit, and lots of other helpful data, including averages for all of the products on page 1. So what we're looking for now are the demand levels of this category as a whole. Specifically, we're just going to focus on these top 10 listings on page 1. The reason why we focus on the first 10 listings is because the majority of customers generally don't go much further down the page when they're looking for a product. That's why we want to ensure that there's not too much competition that prevents us from getting into these top spots. However, we also want to make sure that there's enough demand across these top spots so that even if we just take a tiny share of those sales, we can still make good money. Now, when it comes to demand, you want to see that the top 10 products have a total of around 3,000 monthly sales, which averages out to 300 sales per listing. Once you've confirmed that, you'll then want to make sure that the sales are reasonably well distributed amongst the top 10 listings. If you see 1 or 2 listings are getting the majority of sales, then it may be best to pass on that product idea because customers are clearly only buying from the very top listings. So even if your product were to rank in the top 10 here, it's going to be an uphill battle trying to convince shoppers to buy your product over theirs. Now let's look at the competition. And again, for that, just look at the number of reviews, or what Amazon now calls ratings. For this, you want to make sure that the top 10 products have an average of no more than 1,000 reviews, and ideally 3 to 5 of them have less than 100 reviews. Now let's talk about profitability. Remember, we want to price our product between $20 to $70. So check the average price up here at the top, which is going to show you the average price of all the products on this page. Next, pick a product and click the net column. This is going to open up an extremely helpful tool, the FBA Profit Calculator. This is where you can really start calculating your potential profit by entering in your estimated per unit product cost. So how exactly do you find what your per unit cost might be? Well, for now, because you're just trying to confirm whether or not you should go any further with this idea, you can search for your product idea on Alibaba just to get a general sense of what suppliers are charging. And don't worry, in the supplier video of this series, we're going to dive much deeper into this. But for now, just pull up a few different listings here and find what the average price seems to be. Then come back to the profit calculator and enter that into the product cost section. Now, to further help you determine the profitability, you need to consider the two main costs that are going to affect your profit margin. These are your landed costs and your Amazon fees. Landed costs are mostly made up of the cost to make your product, which is what we just entered into the profit calculator, but you also need to consider the cost to have it shipped into Amazon. You may also want to include some other costs such as any prep or inspection fees, which we'll talk about later in this series. And then also consider any customs duties, which will vary based on where you're ordering from and where you're shipping to. But for the most part, the bulk of your landed costs will be the product cost and the shipping cost. Then the other cost that I mentioned is Amazon's fees. There are a few different fees that you should know about. First is the referral fee, which is what Amazon charges for bringing customers to your listing and selling it. This is usually up to about 15% of your selling price, which is actually a great deal considering how much Amazon is doing for you. Secondly, if you're using FBA, you have a fulfillment fee that does vary depending on the weight and dimensions of your product and what country you're selling in. Other additional fees that you may need to consider are long-term storage fees, which you get charged for only if you have inventory that stays unsold in Amazon's warehouses for more than 1 year. You've also got your monthly Seller Central fee for using Amazon, which on a professional subscription is about $40 per month. We'll talk more about setting up your account in a later video in this series. Now, with both your landed costs and Amazon fees in mind, the best way to gauge profitability is to calculate your ROI, which stands for return on investment. The goal here is to get at least 100% ROI, which basically means that for every dollar you spend, you get $2 back. So here's an important tip to remember. For every product that you're evaluating, think, can I source and ship this into Amazon for substantially less than it's selling for? To help you calculate that, consider the rule of thirds. 1/3 goes towards Amazon fees, 1/3 goes towards your landed cost, and then 1/3 goes to you. To help simplify the process, I recommend coming back to the profit calculator to find out exactly what Amazon's fees would be for certain products. So back to this example. Let's say I was looking to sell this product for $21. Amazon's total fee is about $7, which is 1/3 of the selling price. Considering the rule of thirds, I should be aiming to have my landed costs for this product to be under $7, which again includes the costs to source and then ship the product into Amazon. Doing that would give me a profit of $7 or so, which again is roughly 1/3 and gets me to my 100% ROI. Now, if the product would have cost much more than this, then that's when I would have moved on to another product, as the profit margin on this one would be getting a little bit low. But if everything checks out and you're above 100% ROI, then you can X out of the calculator here and then go through and click the plus icon for at least these top 10 products. What that's going to do is add them to the Jungle Scout product tracker, which is a tool to help you easily compare and keep track of all your product ideas. Now, we just did that for only one product idea. So what you want to do now is to keep repeating this process until you have at least 10 different product ideas. Do keep in mind, however, that this process can take time. You might vet a lot of different product ideas and go down a lot of rabbit holes, and most of them might come to nothing. This is, however, the most important stage of the business. Your product is the foundation of your business, so it's well worth spending the extra time to find a really great product, even if that takes a few weeks. Once you do, you're almost at the point now where you can start comparing all your product ideas and narrowing it down to the one that you're going to sell. But you can't do that without first reaching out to suppliers. So far, we've only estimated our product costs, and we're not going to know for sure what it costs exactly until we get real quotes from real suppliers. So make sure you pay close attention to this next video to learn exactly how to find, contact, and work with suppliers.